The world churns out just over 2 billion tons of waste every year. A new report points to the United States as the #1 offender.
Well, despite accounting for just 4% of the global population, the U.S. produces 12% of the world's solid waste, compared to China and India.
Together, they make up over a third of the world's population, but account for less than 30% of its waste. Our correspondent Kevin McAleese looks at how America is trying to clean up its reputation on rubbish.
Turning trash into electricity. This waste-to-energy plant in northern Virginia processes almost 1,000 tons of garbage each day, enough to power 20,000 homes. It's part of Arlington County's green approach to America's massive waste burden.
We also do organics collection, brush collection, yard waste collection, which adds to our composting, which adds ultimately to our recycling rate. So I think from an Arlington perspective, we're doing, I think, pretty well relative to the rest of the country.
That recycling rate is one of the country's highest at around 50%, compared to the much lower national average of just 35%. A new report by global risk firm Verisk Maplecroft also found the US produces 3 times the global average of trash.
It's estimated that each American produces almost 800 kilograms of solid waste per year. That's almost 3 times as much as the average person in China.
Kevin Moss, an expert with the World Resources Institute, says the last decade has seen the world's largest economy generate more waste than ever before.
Between 2014 and the year 2000, we increased the amount of clothes we buy by 60% per person in the US, and we keep them for half as long. 25% of the food that consumers buy, they then throw away. So the primary reason for the waste problem is we buy a lot more than we need.
And while recycling plays an important role in America's waste management, it's far from a silver bullet.
Recycling is certainly better than waste, but it takes resources to recycle. It takes the resource to collect the product in. It takes water, it takes energy, and in many cases it takes chemicals to recycle goods. So recycling should be the last thing we feel good about doing.
Those involved in tackling America's trash say a combination of more government support, greener business practices and innovation are needed.
As much as we'd like to say we're going to be zero waste this or zero waste that, there's always going to be some trash that has to be managed on the back end somehow. And so I think just reality is we want to manage that in the most environmentally responsible way, the most efficient way. And so that technology may not have been developed yet, but we're on the lookout for it as soon as it comes around.
And while the US waits for the next breakthrough in waste disposal, the nation's rubbish continues to pile up. Kevin McAleese, CNA, Arlington County, Virginia.